Yeah, so I've been really, really busy. Like, I know it's a really bad, like, sort of outdated excuse, but it is very, very true. I've been aggressively busy, and it will be a story that we'll tell one day because it actually does pertain quite well to this podcast. But for now, like, I have to remain shrouded in mystery. Like, Chris and Sam know about what's going on, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. But I've done a little bit of work on the game, that's for sure. A lot of it is code based, so it's going to look the exact same. I apologize for the people that are sort of excited to see like visual changes. Like, it was sort of my plan at the end of last year was to say, okay, now that I'm sort of quote unquote finished with the main core base of the code, like, I can finally move off into actually making the game look pretty. But that sort of got suspended because I realized there was a whole other feature which I totally forgot about, which is the dialogue system for the game. In the game, I do have a main character that isn't so silent. Like, he does actually have some things to say. I'll try and full screen this actually, so it's a bit.
Zombie McBiteface.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of here.
Right. So before, it was like the silent protagonist and all that sort of stuff, and stuff would happen. There was some things that, like, hints at the bottom of the screen for what items were and stuff. As you can see, that's been removed, and that's because of the whole new dialogue system which I've got. So it isn't just so simple as like you click on a thing and he says some words. It's actually based on if he's inspecting something, if he's talking to something, if it's a hint, if it's him picking something up, if he's failed at something. Like, there's different variations for what he can say at different points. So a good example of this is the inspect button. So when you inspect an object, which you don't have to do, like, you don't have to expect anything if you don't want. It's very much like a side thing if players are interested. But at the moment, as you can see, like, there's no sort of text on the screen. I really like this look. Like, I really want to keep the game as clean as possible in terms of UI. Like, the only thing that's actually on the screen at any one time now are the dots, which I kind of like because it's akin to some of my favorite games like Eco and Out of This World and things like that. Those are the sorts of games which I'm sort of trying to sort of follow as well.
Yeah.
But if you inspect something,
it's more immersive, leaning into the immersive.
Yeah, exactly. If you inspect something now, he has a line of dialogue which now goes above his head.
Blank, blank, blank.
Exactly. It's just test dialogue.
It's a blank.
But now that he's inspected it, if you then get near it again, then it's got the sort of doorboards thing at the bottom. So things only show up after you've inspected them. So this sort of extends out. So old zombie over here, like, if I inspect him, he decides to give him a name.
Oh, I love this. Zombie McBiteface.
And now he's got a nice name, which is great.
And now he's got the name.
Yeah.
Nice. Brilliant.
So that's the first thing, which
and do you name things throughout the game as well?
Yeah, so what I've done, every item in the game already has a base name anyway, like every item. So if I don't have, like, customized dialogue, which every item can have custom dialogue for an inspection, but if I don't, then I've set up a system where it says, okay, what's the name of the object? And then it applies a looks like a in string, and then it adds, like, the item's name at the end. So I don't have to make a custom inspection thing for everything, but if I do, then it has it. So this is an example of looks like a potato peeler. I didn't write that. It's just the system's creating that based off the thing's name. And then
based on your labeling that you've got,
exactly,
the name of the object and stuff, so it's referencing the name of the object. Very clever.
Exactly. So I've added something more to this as well. If you inspect it a second time, then I don't want it to just repeat the same thing. So I've added another string which is still looks like a, and then you add the item name on the end. So it adds that.
It's adding that sarcasm.
Exactly.
Coded in sarcasm into the game.
Yeah,
I love it.
Automated sarcasm. That's the best way forward, guys. But yeah, so there's a lot of that, and it's same with Zombie McBiteface. Yep, still looks like a Zombie McBiteface. I still need to, like, figure out the different cases for, like, the pluralization of certain words, which I've got it for most things set up, but for things like it looks like a Zombie McBiteface instead of saying it still looks like Zombie McBiteface. So removing the A from that and stuff, I still need to figure that stuff out. But yeah, that's the.
I don't think it's a bug. I think it's a feature. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It still looks like a Zombie McBiteface.
It does.
That's funnier.
But yeah, so that's the inspection mode. So I added quite a bit onto that. I also made the character a little bit slower as well. So when he walks, he's not like zooming across the map like he was before. So it looks like he's actually a bit more purposeful in his walk and stuff.
And was that for utility? Was that because you wanted to just run around and test things quickly? So
I guess it
bumped
was,
up the
yeah.
speed of them, or...
And it wasn't until like someone mentioned it on TikTok, and I was like, "What? Like, it doesn't run that fast." And then I looked at it, and I was like, actually, he does kind of like slide across the floor. But now it actually feels like he's actually going at the pace that he's walking, which is great. So the next thing was the fail state stuff. If you fail at something, then he's got like a custom script for that as well. So Grunt, what do they do? Weld these things on? Like, so he hasn't been able to get through the floorboards, but it kicks this level of dialogue. And this was another sort of subsystem which I wanted to do, which was hints. Like, me and Chris have had long discussions about how I hate hints in games and how they give them too early.
Yep.
One of the things which I did want to have in the game, I did want to put hints in there, and I'm going to have an option in the game to turn them off altogether. But I don't...
That's better than all AAA games released this year.
Amen.
Last year.
Amen. But one thing I did want to do is add a sort of an extra step to get to the hint. So, like, then it said, what did they do? Weld these things on? So I haven't given the player the hint. But if they go back and try and fail a second time, then it does the same text as it did before, but then afterwards it adds the hint dialogue straight after it. So it's got a bit of like an extra step to do to it. So it isn't automatically like telling the player what to do. They have to fail a couple of times before they get the hint. So I'm trying to add all these subsystems to sort of combat that, because I've been really...
That's great.
I've been getting really annoyed by that in games recently, so
that is really clever. Like, you try something once and you have to try it twice before the hint kicks in.
Exactly.
That is really good.
Yeah.
Because that feels more immersive, because that feels more like how people's brains work, whereas what's happening now is you're just meeting a threshold of a location. It's like, maybe you need to do this.
Exactly.
Or there's a countdown timer where it's like, you've been here for 5 minutes. I think you need a hint now. You need to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been a lot of talk about Atreus opening his mouth and solving the puzzle before you've even looked around the room.
Yeah, and same for... he's nowhere near as bad as Aloy, but yeah, it's getting pretty bad. Yeah. What was the other thing I did? So normal dialogue as well. If there's a character or a static object, something like Zombie McBiteface, you can talk to him. And I've also added...
Awesome.
I've also made it so you don't just talk to him once. I've actually got a branch of like 5 different dialogues that it randomizes between. So it isn't just you say one thing over and over again.
So everyone's playthroughs can be different as well.
A little bit.
Yes.
So
a streamer will play one thing. You look at the same streamer playing the same thing, and then it's going to play something else.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with
liking that.
With old zombie dude here, if I like try and talk to him, I've basically got like 5 jokes loaded in at the moment. That's the story I've got going. But like the sort of pun jokes. Dedicated. Good times. And he'll alternate between different, and there's a bunch of different jokes which you can put in, but it just goes it just goes through them as it goes.
It's replayed the first one. Is that because it just randomizes and it might play the second one again?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it can repeat them. Yeah.
Living room. Living room.
To get it, living room. Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah.
What can I say? I'm trying to think what other dialogue options there were. I can actually...
what I'm mainly taking from your update is you added dad jokes everywhere.
Hell yeah. Dad jokes are the win, man.
And dad logic as well, because dads need time to figure stuff out. And you've compensated for that. So as a dad, I really appreciate that.
Like that.
You've had time to think about that.
Yeah, so...
Because there's one thing worse, is when someone gives you the answer when you're not looking for it, and it's like, I was going to do that by myself.
Yeah, and I kind of want to like have this moment of where players can have the opportunity to figure it out for themselves. That's what I want to do. And even the hints that you get, they're not going to be spoiler territory. It's not going to like go over there and do this. It's going to be a hint. It's going to be an actual hint. You know, like hints used to be. That'd be nice. Not, hey, maybe I should go and look in that trash can over there and find a hammer so I can maybe pry off these. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's stupid. Because it's like...
Or like a mechanic. It's like, I think you need to use this mechanic right now. Like, I think this mechanic is the one I need to use. It's like, ugh.
Gross, right? I just, like, be generic, like, oh, maybe I can pry it off with something. It's like, yeah, that is enough of a hint. It's like, okay, I need to find something that I can pry it off with. Like, where can I look? I'm not going to tell you where to find it. You know, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that. But, yeah, dialogue systems, I've got item interaction, like on over here. I've got hint dialogues. And these are all sort of quite... I've built out the system as well, so they're all set in arrays, and I can just add like more lines to it. And if it detects like there's nothing in here, then it automatically reverts to a default phrase, which is like, oh, it looks like a blah blah blah, or like, oh, I don't know, I have no idea what to do with this or whatever. So it's got a default state for all of this sort of stuff. And I can move these around, which is great.
Wow.
I can add like 25 different lines, and it'll just play one after the other. Another great thing is this is got like some really cool HTML styling ideas to it as well. So you can change the size, you can make it bold. So like the thing before where you saw, I should call him, and then Zombie McBiteface was super big. That's all done through code in the actual script. So I don't have to like play around with like UX stuff. Like it's all done through text. The only thing I have to add to all of this.
That's great.
The only thing I have to add to all of this is like audio sources and stuff. So like as they're playing the audio source, like if they skip through and stuff like that, that's the next thing that I might want to do, because I think I've landed on the idea that I do want to make the game audio based and have some VO in there. That'd be great. But
yeah,
other than that, it was not too much else has changed. I think I added a bag animation. I don't know if I showed that last time. Because it's been a hot minute.
Going into and out of the bag, yeah.
Yeah, I think I already showed that, right? Oh. So he's got a little animation now.
Yeah.
And he stands back up again.
But this is a classic, I haven't done anything, I feel guilty, I got nothing to show, and then we're getting there, it's like, so I made an entire dialogue system.
Yeah, but it's all
not
like
just any old
code.
dialogue system. Like, better than most AAA games out there that have dynamic, like, comic book text elements that doesn't exist on any other game I know of. So you can have like little whispering small characters and like big massive punchline larger characters. You've made something that just doesn't exist in other media.
I'm sure it exists somewhere.
And it just happens to recognize HTML text formatting, you know.
I think that's actually kind of built into. Yeah, it's kind of built into Unity anyway. But yeah, but I figured out how to use it. That's the important thing. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. So the next step for me,
and that's
honestly,
what you've done in 5 months.
Exactly. Like really not that great. But the next step, honestly, things are ramping down now in terms of like how busy I am, which is great. Like in terms of like the next month. So I do want to start making the game look prettier. Like that would be the next step, I hope, because I'm getting really
And you've been
tired.
talking about that for like 8 months.
I know, man. It's brutal. But the thing is, like the whole opening section, which is going to be the demo for the game, all of that is pretty much done at this point. So I can just make that look pretty, and I really want to get a demo done in the next couple of months. That's sort of where I want to get to. But yeah, we'll see. I'm not trying to be too definitive about it at this point, because my original plan was to get a demo done by October, which just did not happen, because stuff got really, really heavy on the side. So I don't want to put down a lock date on this yet, because it's just gonna get brutal for me. So yeah, that's the deal.